Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, warshippers of all ages, welcome back to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and we are going to bring you a battle report today from the bridge of Tier 9 American heavy cruiser USS Buffalo. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm coming into this game with a chip on my shoulder, but the chip didn't appear until several games after I played this one. This game in Buffalo is probably the best ranked game I've ever had in the ship. And I was playing this in bronze promotions over the past weekend, and I was having some pretty good games. I didn't win everything, but usually when I lost, I was at least able to salvage my star because, as I've extolled the virtues of many times on this channel, Buffalo is a perfectly good ship. She didn't really need the buff they just gave her, but I'm not going to complain. I have an entire video on my channel talking about how to play this ship, how to build it, why she's good, and so on. But she's exceptionally good in this format, in this smaller format of ranked. But about 3 games after I played the one you're watching right now, I was in one of those typical ranked games where your team just absolutely does every dumb thing possible, and you look up, and at the 5-minute mark, you're down 2 or 3 ships already, out of 6, right? And I made some kind of comment in chat, and one of my other teammates, who I believe at that point in the game was still alive, a member of my fellow clan community, right, made some comment about, well, you're playing a Buffalo, you should come into the game expecting to lose. And I'm just like, how is it 2024 and we're still fighting this insane prejudice against this ship because it is so amazingly good. Now, I've paused the game here for a minute. Let's talk about the Atlantic. This is arguably the worst ranked map in the history of World of Warships. Look at that cap configuration. It's absolutely ridiculous how far away these cap circles are placed on this map. It makes this map a miserable experience most of the time. And I've done something arguably inadvisable, right? I've taken my heavy cruiser, my 12-gun American piercing heavy cruiser with a 10.7 kilometer detection up north to the sea cap, rather than down south towards A and B or playing mid where my radar might be more useful. Now, why have I done this? A couple of reasons. One is there are 2 Eigers on the opposing team, and I know from long experience in this ship and fighting Eigers all season long how much damage I can do to those guys given half a chance, and how little they can generally do back to me as long as I angle Buffalo's armor belt correctly. The other is, on occasion, the Yugumo, you see on the opposing team, on the occasion, the destroyer on the opposing team gets a little cheeky and decides to come up here rather than play the B-cap. He lets all the slow boats go play the B-cap, and the destroyer finds their way up north. And so I'm playing up here in this gap, thinking this might be a good idea. Now, my bailout, if you look on the mini-map, my bailout is just up here off my port side. It's the 6 line. So I'm pushing in, expecting to run into something. I've just loaded the AP, expecting to see something on the opposing team coming up the 8 line. And if it's big and bad, if it's one of the battleships or something, I'm just going to turn and run due north up the 6 line and let the Iowa and the Georgia behind me continue to do work. Okay, so already I know I'm going to be making this move. There's an opposing Georgia. I'm clearly not going to keep pushing him. There's an Eiger right at almost inside my detection range. In fact, right as he's going to find my detection range, right about there, he's going to go ahead and get a salvo of the AP. Now, even though those 2 guys are behind an island, I'm still lit. That's interesting. That tells me that the Yugumo or someone is either in front of them, somewhere along the bottom edge of the sea cap, not quite in the cap yet, or he's way out in mid and has a glimpse of me through these islands off my starboard side. Either way, we're going to open things up with a thoroughly mediocre salvo against the Eiger. I am in my Buffalo here running one of the special American captains that gets the fancy, the faster, what do they call it? Expert reloader. Feed the guns now they call it. So you'll see me switch shell types all the time, and it takes about 3.5 seconds. That's why it's so quick. I get a little bonus to that. Start milking this Georgia for all the HE high explosive damage we can get. He and the Eiger are both really good targets for both my AP and my HE. I had AP in the barrel there thinking the Georgia would hold that line. He didn't. He went bow in, so I went ahead and just dumped the AP out. I could have swapped it, but I thought, to hell with it. Let's see what we get. And, of course, we don't get very much. But the HE is doing great work to him so far. I'm taking a fire. I've racked up about 10 or 12,000 damage just out of full pins through his deck and his superstructure. And I'm assuming, assuming that these 2 battleships behind me are going to do good work backing me up. Now, I'm starting to get a little bit of island cover here. I can use the Iowa as a spotter, so I'm trying to slow down and use the island here as hard cover, or at least break line of sight so they can't see me. But my Iowa, you'll notice, is broadside to God and everyone. He's about to get absolutely just hammered. He does not seem to understand or even know how armor works in World of Warships. And so, very quickly, one of my battleships up here is not going to be with us. He's literally just going to throw his ship away, which is a common problem I keep seeing in Ranked, right? The typical battleship player in Ranked knows how to press W and how to die. And that is the common denominator I find amongst most of my Ranked games in the modern era, which I've just is becoming increasingly exhausting as a cruiser player. With the Iowa dead, I have no one spotting for me. The Georgia has opted not to move full speed, so he's still trailing behind, not quite having LOS on the Eiger or the Georgia yet. And I'm realizing hanging out here is not going to do me good. I've got to push back to the east. This Georgia and this Eiger are going to have to respect the threat that my opposing Georgia is going to represent for them. I want to get on their flanks and get the AP loaded and have some fun with it. So I'm going to move a little farther north. We're going to turn back to the... I'm going to get a little snarky in chat. We're going to turn back to the east and see if we can get some good shots on this Georgia and this Eiger, who are both hurting, right? They're below half health over there. It's very common for me to make snarky comments in chat, but I'm not one of these guys that goes into port after a game and berates people. There's no value in that. But I'll 100% make snarky comments in chat during a game when I see stuff like that, because it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Madre de Dios. All right, here we go. AP salvo. Brief glimpse of the Georgia, enough to get a salvo out. Unfortunately, what looks like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I led that one right, and no, we don't get much out of it. A bunch of overpins. So either I clipped him, I aimed a little too high, clipped him in the superstructure, or it was I didn't lead him quite enough, and it was mostly overpins through the stern. Either one of those, a likely result of what just occurred. Georgia's trying to get hard cover from my Georgia. He's going to slow down here and start reversing in a minute. Right now, I'm going to get a little bit out of that salvo. Nope, just a ricochet. We'll take one quick salvo at the Eiger, and then as the opposing Georgia starts to reverse, now we're going to have the fun. Now the fun begins, right? We've got brilliant shots. He's only got 2 barrels to throw at me from that angle. I can almost show him my broadside, like, free of charge. And the AP, of course, you can see doing great work. That salvo right there should be the end of him, if I led those correctly, and yes, it is. But unfortunately, my opposing Georgia, my friendly Georgia, pause it real quick, makes the exact same mistake that my Iowa did and decides to go broadside to something that can citadel him at point-blank range. And so now, it's just me and this Eiger. Now we're, 6.5 minutes into this game, and I've got a cool 85,000 damage already. So now I have to duel basically a cruiser killer at what amounts to point-blank range. Should be fun. No problem. All right. Here's how this is going to go. I've got the radar up. I'm trying to make sure that I know what this guy is doing. You can see him. He's maneuvering to cut back to the east. He's going to give me exactly the shot that I want right there. Okay, I'm about a half second slower than I thought, but there it is. A big AP salvo. Wham! 15K. 16,000 damage. I hit all 12 shells, 10 full pins, 2 overpins. Massive hit, right? His return salvo? Not amazing. This is what I'm talking about. This is an engagement as a Buffalo player that I am 100% comfortable taking at certain ranges. Unfortunately, this is probably not that range because you see his first torpedo salvo already in the water. Now these here come the guns. The guns are going to bounce right off my bow. I don't really care. The torpedoes I have to worry about. I literally don't care about his main battery right now. It's the torpedoes I'm trying to avoid. Unfortunately, this guy is clever enough. That should have been an AP salvo. That's a mistake on my part, right? He's going to burn out, but not before he gets his second salvo into the water. And unfortunately, for me, he's going to get magical RNG dispersion. 2 torpedoes very close together, and I'm going to eat 2 of those. Now, I'm still alive, but I am hurting. We're still down a ship. My team very much not covering itself with glory. Here we are, and in 7.5 minutes, almost exactly, all 3 of my battleships have managed to commit Harikiri. It's impressive, really, when you get down to it, right? So now, the Jaeger and the Schroeder and I have our work cut out for us. First thing we got to do, let's get this cap. We got to put some pressure on these guys from a points perspective. We're 100 points down, and we got to make this work. Yeah, so there I am in chat, a little salty yet again. Now the Jaeger, God bless him. This Jaeger is a bloody rock star. He's not going to be, pristine when the game is over, but he is doing the Lord's work back there from detection and damage perspective. I got the AP in the barrel. He does pick off the Yugamo after he gets a torpedo or two into him. Our Schroeder's calling out the destroyer. I'm not convinced because he plays a pretty good game from here on out, but we'll see how it goes. With that kill, we do pick up into the lead. The Iowa stepping onto A to kind of start messing with that a bit. And now I've got to figure out how to kill this guy by using the Schroeder and or the Jaeger as a spotter. At this point, I've got to pretty much stay in this slot, use these islands, and fire over. And that's why I'm not firing right here. I'm waiting for the shot. He's turning back north. I want this AP shot, and I'm trying to use the island, like that, to block LOS. From this position, that Eiger cannot spot me. Unfortunately, now I've drifted a little too far south, and now the Marlboro can if I pull the trigger right now. So now I'm in a bit of a pickle. If I push the middle of the map, the Eiger might run into me. If I fire from here, the Marlboro will have brilliant shots. So I'm gonna pop an info radar again. This is info for both me and the Schroeder. Want to see where this is see how this is going. I'm turning so that as I make this maneuver, I know I'm going to be spotted both by the Eiger and possibly by the Marlboro. But as we push forward, we'll be able to cut the LOS right there from the Marlboro. That's what we wanted. Now, I'm a little too close to this Eiger. I don't know if his Hydro's on or off cooldown, but I know that he's got it. And sooner or later, he might have the opportunity to catch me with the Hydro. But from this position, look at the mini-map. All three opposing ships are inside my gun range, so it's a question of picking a good target and trying to get rid of it. Iowa's going to get a cap off, and not much I can do about that. I'm focused on this Eiger right now. I'm wondering if he's going to make the mistake of coming out around from this island in front of me. I find a lot of Eiger players, I'm going to pause real quick. I find a lot of Eiger players really overestimate the value of their armor against Buffalo's guns, as you saw earlier. So I'm kind of going, bring it on, buddy. This one, though, he is clever, and he will decline to make this maneuver. However, now that his Hydro's up, I have to get the hell away from him. The Marlboro is absolutely a threat to me. He probably has HE in the barrel, but if he's clever enough to load the AP, I might be in a bit of a pickle. As it is, I'm going to cut some speed, make a turn. We're going to start trying to get out of here a bit. I got to back off this Eiger's position while continuing to throw shells downrange. Now, this highlights one of the things that I really like about Buffalo is the turret arrangement. I can still get half my firepower into the fight, even while only showing the butt of the ship. When you drive a Des Moines or a Baltimore, yes, they're arguably better, but the different turret layout works against you in situations like this. And so I'm a big fan of this turret layout in certain situations. The opposing Iowa, Bald Eagle there in the middle, has pulled back to mid. That's going to let our Jaeger get back to A. I'm not sure why he made this maneuver. I guess he didn't want to sit out there and eat, a trillion torpedoes, which was probably what would happen had he stayed on that side of the map. So he's trying to pull back towards friends, but in so doing, I've got a line of sight on him. I've got island cover. I'm not going to stop pulling the trigger as long as I have both of these two things. Opposing Eiger still reversing there, still hugging that island like it's his waifu. And I'm just trying to get any kind of damage onto these guys that I can. I'm actually locked onto the Marlboro while firing at the Iowa. A bit of a mistake there, I think. Keep thinking the Eiger's going to come back out. Is he going to come back out? Nope, he's declining again. Marlboro now trying to chase the Jaeger. Got him lit on the surface. Iowa trying to back off a bit. Got some AP in the barrel. We'll see what we get out of this. I think I actually shorted that salvo a bit. I didn't lead it quite right. I don't think that's going to be amazing. Yeah, 6.5 is not great. It's not terrible, but could have been better. You can tell from these shell groupings like why I love Buffalo. The accuracy, the shell volume, and I'm on a 7.6 second reload. Glorious. He gets one full pin. Time for another heal. Since he's got clear line of sight on me right now without any assistance, I'm going to hold the fire while we get flipped and try to move back the other way. I'm getting the guns, already starting to turn the guns. I'm just trying to get dark, and there we go. All right. Tie game, basically. 8 minutes to play. We're still not out of this. The Schroeder's somehow still alive back there. He's also hugging an island like it's his waifu. Smart play. Iowa going to turn back north, going to try to get back into this fight. The Jaeger's finally taken up a position on the flank of the opposing Marlboro. That ought to let him land some more of these torpedoes. And I like how he's staggering his salvos a bit, right? They're not all going out in one big lump. He's firing one, he's waiting 10, 15 seconds, he's firing another, and so on. That's really making the Marlboro's life a little bit hellacious over there, you get the sense. He is flooding and continuing to take torpedoes. Now, this Iowa is going to do me a solid for about the next 60 seconds. He's going to completely ignore me. He's going to drive right through the middle of the map and ignore everything about me. Unfortunately, the Jaeger is once again caught on the surface, and yet somehow he's going to sneak out of it. He's going to turn back north, get away from the Iowa. I'm trying not to ground myself here. Finally have to give up the stern turrets and go just bow only here, trying to pitch in to help the team. We've basically, the opposing Eiger is essentially out of the fight, has been for a while. He's more or less locked into that position kind of while I lurk over here. I'm going to make a bit of a navigational error here, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to make this turn, trying to get all my guns in action. Didn't quite make the turn. Now I've got to get reversed and get moving again. The Iowa's just about out at the edge of my range. If he holds that course, I'm only going to get a couple more salvos on him. Trying to pitch in where I can. Eiger finally lands some torps. There we go. We're getting down below 1,000, but he's in the middle of a heel. So now I'm just trying, I've got to get a fire on this guy. We've got to get a fire on him. How do we do it? How do we get there? Must be a way. Schroeder's going to burn out. I'm just guessing now. You can tell that salvo's never going to hit if you look at the mini-map where I'm aiming. I need to be aiming way, way, way higher, and now he's about to turn out of my range. All right, well, my little navigational error has not done my team any favors, but I think we're fortunate enough that the Jaeger is going to clean this guy up in a minute. Now, I've just popped my radar because I thought, I haven't seen this Eiger in a while. What's he doing? There he comes. He's burned through 2 heels hiding behind that island, and now he's like, all right, let's go push this cheeky Buffalo who's been hanging out here all game. Okay, let's. So now I'm in a bit of a navigational pickle, let's say. Right? I do have the keyhole here. I can probably get a few rounds through it, but I have no confidence I can get everything through it. What's actually about to happen I hadn't planned. Check this salvo out. Watch how these shells land when I pull the trigger. Okay, he's about to speed me right there. Look at that. Did you see it? I got shells to go through. The bow guns all went through the forward keyhole, and most of the stern guns got around the back end. I couldn't believe that salvo. I went, wait, what? I still hit him for 10K. The AP, Buffalo's AP is so stupidly good. Now, I should have already swapped to the HE here, but I didn't. It's fine. I do knock one of his turrets out. That actually saves me right here when he comes in with only one of his forward turrets and gets nothing but overpens. All right. Jaeger versus Iowa drama still going on. Still anybody's game. We've been at this for almost 15 minutes, and we are not. There's no definitive winner yet. All right, I'm going to get the stern turrets through the keyhole for a little more chip damage, and now I'm going to make another navigational error. I thought I'd cut my speed here, but I didn't. I'm still moving full speed through this gap. I meant to cut my speed, and I don't. Now he's down to 6K. I have to believe he's getting low on heals here. So now I'm going to end up grounding myself for next thing to it. Jaeger gets the Iowa. Excellent. So now it's just on me. I have to not die here, hopefully. I'm trying to get this salvo in. Now I'm trying to get full pins through the bow before his bow guns clear the island. That's the goal of this shot. I get the shot off. But watch what happens. I have to time this very carefully. You can see his guns have just fired. 13. Look at his health, ladies and gentlemen. Look at his health. Now watch. So he gets his citadels. I get 12 overpins and leave him on 13 HP. If I had led that salvo just a little better, I probably would have killed him. Unfortunately, I still only walked away with a paltry 230,000 damage, right? In a Buffalo. A ship that everyone confirms for me and tells me repeatedly is terrible. So the main reason, ladies and gentlemen, that you're getting to see this video and this replay is because about 3 games after this, as I said earlier, one of my clan community mates, I'm not calling out names, it's not important, they know who they are, was in a game with me and made some crappy comment about how Buffalo, if you're playing a Buffalo, you should expect to lose. Ladies and gentlemen, that is moronic. That is moronic. Buffalo is amazing. I think, again, I've said it before and I'm going to keep saying it. Buffalo's single biggest sin is that she's not Des Moines. But she doesn't have to be. If you're playing silver, if you're playing bronze promotions, and you're looking for a radar cruiser, ladies and gentlemen, have I got a deal for you. Play the ship that Wargaming buffed when they shouldn't have, and go murder people with it, because it's hilarious. Now, you're still a cruiser. Battleships will still slap you around. Be smart. Don't be dumb. But, I mean, the ship is really good, okay? 1.1 million credits. What's my base XP here? 2,900? 2,500. Basically 2,600. Like, in a 6v6 game. In a 6v6 game, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's my damage record in Buffalo, and I only had 6 opposing ships to shoot at. I don't know what else I can do to convince people, right? Like, the ship has all the tools it needs to be amazing. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. If you can't figure out Buffalo, that's you, not the ship. Stop blaming the ship for your faults. I'm going to say it. And I mean it. I mean it. I swear to God. If the ship doesn't click with you, I get it. That's fine. There's plenty of ships that don't click with me. But don't stand here and tell me the ship is terrible, because it very clearly isn't. All right, rant over. You guys have fun. Wash your hands, be safe, and I'll catch you next time.